Value Impulses with Dr. Ulrich Vogel. Personnel Diagnostics Insights, Leadership, Assessments, and Personnel Development. Welcome back, dear listeners. Today, we're tackling a topic that will hopefully give your coaching the boost it needs. This episode is called How to Prove the True Added Value of Your Coaching. So, what's my kickstart for today? Imagine someone says that coaching without clear evidence is like a car without petrol. Sounds drastic. So stick around, because you'll soon find out how to make the true added value of your coaching visible. Yes, we need to take a look at gut feeling and evidence, what really matters. My advice to you, forget about relying solely and constantly on your gut feeling as your only basis for decision-making. I've already mentioned this in the previous episode. It's an important building block, but a lot of people tend to use it as the single most important foundation. And they get used to it. We humans are lazy and become complacent. And in this context, in my opinion, that's fatal. So, how about a mix of intuition and solid data? Your gut feeling is important, but imagine you're a detective. One who has to overcome every obstacle with evidence. I really like this investigative image of the detective. It's simply not enough to help the coachee gain insights with good questions and by considering the systemic context, and so on. That's your job in coaching. And you can probably do that, I'm pretty sure, really, really well. That's great, keep doing it, but that's just not enough these days. Because, to be considered by the client in the long run, first put yourself in their shoes. Maybe the HR person who hired you also has to justify themselves internally, whether upwards or in all directions, including, of course, to the finance department. And then she's left standing there and says, yeah, I got good feedback, sure. But they say, yeah, the coach is too expensive. Where are the results? That's why, after the coaching session, the work isn't over. Beyond the coaching session, you have to act like a detective, searching for puzzle pieces and putting them together in such a way that you can actually describe a return on investment. ROI is simply important in our economy. Results are what really matter. That's why, at the start of every coaching session, you should systematically ask what has actually changed since the last session. And make sure to dig deeper so you have material for those puzzle pieces. Take good notes. By the way, this also serves as a kind of hidden quality control for yourself to find out whether, well, it meets your expectations. Is this what you wanted? Or was it all just too superficial? So once again, in my opinion, beyond coaching, you always have to be able to set up the whole company and basically explain the impact your coachee is now making differently because of your coaching. Of course, they had impact before, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse, but ideally, after your coaching, the impact should be better. And what does that look like? Yeah, sure, there are KPIs, but maybe also new approaches, new methods, new tools. New collaborations, working together, efficiencies, whatever. But something you can specifically point to. And these data points, let's call them that, you should really see as a treasure. So basically, find your gold nuggets, the relevant data that proves your coaching brings value. Data is basically your new gold. They tell the stories of success. Yours, your coach's, and therefore your success as a coach. So take the time to systematically collect feedback and actually analyze it. With every piece, you gain more clarity. With every puzzle piece, keep in mind the data they want to be found, especially nowadays. So go after them and, in a way, find your own luck. Be a kind of data hunter, so you can clearly show the value of your coaching and also become aware of it yourself. And that way, you'll start thinking differently, not just being fixated on the coaching work itself and assuming it has to be effective. Also, make sure you're able to competently explain the results so you can clearly communicate the added value. And when it comes to acquiring clients, it's important to have stories ready that really stick with people. And that's where it needs to get emotional. Storytelling is exactly what people do to make things memorable. Purely factual data and figures might be convincing in the moment, but they just don't stick. They don't stay with you. They're forgotten so quickly, you can't even keep up. So, tell stories about dramatic transformations. For example, how a lone wolf suddenly became a team icon. Or how you managed to crack a manager's tough exterior and make use of their softer side. Or maybe how the CEO finally realized that KPIs alone don't guarantee success. They're necessary to a certain extent, but they're just not enough on their own. And that missing piece is the aha moment. Or how your coach here realized who really needed to be let go because of toxic behavior. Those are stories you can really build up well. Tell these stories in a lively, authentic, and passionate way too. And I'm sure you have a lot in your wealth of experience that's just a bit rusty and not really top of mind. Brush off that rust. And let those stories work for you. That's how you can also build a bridge to trust. And in that context, keep the following in mind. There's this sales trick, I'd say. It's the sales effect with the wow factor. So, imagine a client says after your coaching, "Wow, I've never seen it like that before." The wow effect, that's ultimately the key. How do you achieve that? With clear results that stick in people's minds. An increase in productivity, improved team communication, a broadening of their previously narrow perspective, and also with stories like the ones I just briefly mentioned. So, transformations have to be delivered. Really, it's no different than a movie. A story has a transformation, a book, a coming-of-age novel, whatever it may be, but just done on a smaller scale. So, that means, as input for how added value can become visible, you first have to hunt for the data so you have puzzle pieces that then make up the whole puzzle or different puzzles. And you just have to do that well. In terms of storytelling, get that across. That's where the emotion, the spice, really needs to come in. I think that's pretty easy to understand. And now, let's just jump right into the action. After all, you want a booster, not just to listen, but to actually do something yourself. For example, try this. Take Monday morning to collect your, let's call them coaching effect data, and then also to sync them up. Use your ongoing coaching sessions for this. That's the easiest, but also bring in something that might be from a little while ago. And hopefully you've got good notes, so you can brush off the rust and have everything fresh in your mind again. Maybe even put together a little case study by next week where you say, "Okay, I'll take a coaching session from a while back," and work through it a bit so I have the data in black and white. What was it like at the beginning? How did things progress? What was the effect? And then think about how you can turn this case study, which sounds a bit dry, into a story, into something interesting. And these stories, if you have several of them, you basically just need to always have them in your sales toolkit and then, at the crucial moment, actually use them. So, challenge of the day, start a storytelling project. I think you'll be amazed at how quickly you see results when you further develop your sales communication in this way. So, that means moving away from just working on content and towards collecting relevant data and putting those data points together into a story. That's the effect for now. It might still be a bit dry at first, but then it gets seasoned and brought to life with the story. So, don't just be a listener anymore, become an active participant. Roll up your sleeves and discover the power of your data. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.